Hello and good evening to everybody, apart from Isaac Kush. We're here for Division 2, Round 7 of League of Europe. We're at Canada this evening, and I am QVR Killer, as always, and I'm joined by, as there's a stricken Mercedes halfway around the track there, that is Ariel, no, it's not Ariel T, but it's DTR Brent. I am joined by Mr. J. Cole. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. You know, just living the best life as a standard kind of thing. But looking forward to seeing how this is going to go for Division 2. A lot of pad drivers that are within this division, as well as a few wheel drivers, and I think we're going to see a bit more of a shake-up throughout the order throughout tonight, to be fair.
Well, let's get straight into it because we are a little late starting the stream. We're on board with Lix, who is going to be the first person to set a lap. A notoriously tricky little track, this one. We're into turn 6 and 7 here, off camber a little bit. Hard to get that one right. The rear end just wants to step out on you a little bit as you come through turn 7. And into tricky turn 8 and 9 out under the bridge. It pinches up underneath you. Easy to spin the car out there using all of the track on the exit. Is Lix. This looks like a tidy lap. Turn 10's another tricky little one. Easy to go late there. And he hooked that nicely, picks up the traction third gear nice and early, little king of 11, you can ignore that, and then let it roll down straight towards 12 and 13, which I think, J. Cole, might possibly be the worst two corners for any pad user on the Formula 1 game. Notoriously tricky to get right. Lick spots his braking point a little bit deep, goes very late on the brakes there, but across the line, and it is going to be our first lap, and it's a 10.3, not a bad first effort at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, as I say, I think we're going to see times that are going to be around that. I would have thought that would have been more towards pole time, maybe like a high 9s as well, as Lix has actually spun after he's done his lap, and Evans as well, just sort of sitting in the grass at the exit of the, well, just before Terminal 1, should I say, as well. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of, as I was saying before, there's going to be a lot of different people that are going to be, that we won't expect to see towards the top. Again, probably because this track is very, very suited for wheel users. But yeah, that's only really, that's the only way I can really sort of describe it, to be fair, as Luca's coming up towards the line, sitting second in the championship, sitting second in the qualifying so far. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I think Evans, RJ, I think Brent might be on wheel as well, Chris, a lot of these guys that are on wheel Resify as well, they'll all have a good chance for this evening. And same with, I think T-Brum also, I think, is on a wheel if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they'll have a good chance for this evening to score some very good points. I don't know, I think we might actually see a different winner for this evening, you know.
I think that's a possibility. I mean, from D1, we're going to see a lot of penalties and all sorts. As Resify goes across the line, goes P2 with a 10.3. I think we could see a few collisions, a few self-inflicted wounds, and quite a few penalties as well. ETA Chris is just starting a lap. He's not feeling particularly well today, a little under the weather, was at risk of missing out, but he's in his car, so we don't have the full complement of reserves. IRT Tope goes into third place with a 10.5, and Chris perhaps showing a little bit of sickness there as he goes invalid on his first effort at 10.3. That's a bit harsh, but you know, it's a nice excuse to have. You can just say, oh, I was ill. Speaking of excuses, ERT Larkin is invalid on his opening effort, so is he going to come straight to the pits, or is he going to have another go? He's going to have another go. Got anyone else on that? DTR Brent is just starting. RJW Videos coming through sector 1. He's done a 19.8, and if he was a wheel user aspiring to the upper echelons of the grid, Jack, 19.8 is not particularly rapid first sector.
No, it's not. You probably want to be a couple tenths at least down on that. So yeah, quite surprised that he's only 19.8. Took that chicane there very nicely just underneath the bridge section as well, and up towards the end of sector 2, 42.1 as the split, and it's he's definitely picked it up more in this lap. In comparison to what he did in the first sector. The second sector definitely looks a lot nicer. It's just this last chicane can definitely catch out a lot of people, and it's been proven that he can catch out a lot of people. Championship leader, Mr. Ariel Felipe, he's just starting his lap as we speak, as I think there's also that screen behind him who's actually just gone into the pits. So yeah, RJ, like I said, it can catch out on that final corner. It's caught him out. He did a 10.789, but unfortunately for him, it's an invalidated lap. And we're already seeing a lot of mistakes going on in this early stage of qualifying. Only 8 drivers out of 18 have set a lap, a majority of them have all done one run, and it's already been, it's already been 7 minutes since the start.
Yeah, it is a little bit bizarre, isn't it, how many people are bottling, although I think Canada is that kind of constrictive track that invites mistakes. It suffocates the drivers a little bit. Koskappen is going to be the next across the line, race winner of the season, of course, and goes on provisional pole with a 10.2. Ariel Felipe is invalid. RJW Videos is invalid on his in-lap. So that is it for our first runs. 9 drivers out of 18, exactly 50% hitting lap times. And you've got to say, from the likes of Evans, not particularly competitive effort as he comes out for his second run with a 12.0. But Koskappen, Licks, Reservoir, Taupe, Luke, Matty, Scream, Miami and Evans is your grid order from 10th downwards. It is the Wild West. Anyone in that bottom 9 you think can fling themselves towards pole contention? I think we mentioned T-Bram, we've not really seen what he can do yet. Anyone else?
RJ, as I said earlier, I think he's the other one. I know he's done quite a few races around Canada, and I would say he's relatively quick as well. I was just actually riding on board the World Championship leader, Mr. Ariel Felipe, at a final corner. He did invalidate, but he now has no front wing, as he did go around and hit the walls. So yeah, our championship leader currently without a time on the board. FRL Charlie's actually binned it at the Wall of Champions, so our first person to actually, get taken out there. Very unfortunate for himself. Matty, though, I think the Polish man is just starting his second lap now, so in the Ferrari. We'll see how he gets on. As I said, there's about 10 minutes left to go of the session. See how he fares on.
Yeah, climbing all over the curb at turn 1. I've seen different approaches through there, and stays well away from the one at turn 2. You want to flick it into 3 as the track dips away from you down the hill, and just by a beaver's margin cuts turn 3 there. We are in Canada. I'm sure they have a lot of beavers in Canada. I don't know. I was kind of thinking you'd imagine them having. Miami 4S is up by over 2 tenths per second through the first sector. Those 2 tenths would gain him exactly 0 places right now. He is more than 3 tenths down on the Scream, who is in P8. Let's run with the McLaren driver towards the end of this lap. He's in good form, but had a harem-scarum moment at Miami. At Austin last week, when he veered over to the left side of the track and wiped out, I can't remember who it was, but another car. Having a very tiny lap this time, though, up by nearly 7 tenths of a second. And he's just got that last chicane, that awful last chicane that you have an eternity to think about, your braking point for it to navigate. And he could be flying up the order into the 1 minute 10s. We've got a bit of a gap there between Luke and Matty, where it looks like Miami could slot into. That looked tiny, if a little non-committal from the McLaren through the last chicane. What's it going to be? It is a 10. It's a 10.894, only just into the 10s. His teammate Larkin is on a lap and did a 10.6 invalid on his first effort. He's now coming through the first sector and has done a 19.6 sector 1. That looks like a nice lap so far from ERT Larkin, Jeff.
Yeah, no, it certainly does, and I was just I'm watching now on board with Reservoir because I think he's just started a lap, but yeah, we'll stick on board with Larkin for the time because I think he's a bit further along in comparison. So yeah, we'll see what Larkin's able to do. As you say, 19.6 for the first sector. End of the second sector, it's a 41.9. Okay, so this is not looking like a bad time from Larkin whatsoever. I think this will put him between sort of Reservoir and Lifebout. And with all of this stick going on with Larkin versus Nolan for the championship, as well as Luke also being up there in second in championship, I think they're both on. I think Larkin's tied on points with Luke. Oh no, sorry, Evans is tied on points with Luke in third. Koskappen's tied in fourth with Larkin in fifth, with 60 points to their name, as that's been a spinner in the back by the Wall of Champions. That is a Red Bull, I think, of Koskappen. So I think RJ is just starting his lap now as we speak. But yeah, Larkin up to P6, 10.6.
Reservoir is on a big lap. He's done 41.5 through the middle sector. So he's well on course to dethrone Koskappen through this final sector if he can, but gets a little deep into turn 12. First part of the chicane, holds it together just enough to take provisional pole, a 10.1. Taupe had a spin out of turn 2 on his lap this time around. Luke's not improving, he's invalid or otherwise on an out lap. Matty is on an out lap. The Scream is invalid. Ivo's just finished. Felipe's across the line, but I think he is starting because the game never likes to make it easy for us, does it? It never wants to tell us who is actually on a lap. T-Brum, I think, was on one and then bailed and came into the pit, so he's still not shown his pace yet. Let's watch RJ, because I think he's going to be the next person to finish. He has got a Ferrari ahead of him. I think that is Matty that's just about to start. So, through the last chicane, let's see what RJ can do. Oh, that was nice and aggressive through turn 12 and then 13, and it stays to the right hand side for the shortest run to the line. It's going to be a 10, a 10.7, and that's good enough for P7, and a nice effort there. Lifebout's going to finish now, does a 10.5, P4 for him. Have we got anyone else on a quick lap? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Mr. ETA Chris is just coming around the final chicane now. Took that very nicely and a lot better than I think I've seen a few other people take that so far this evening. Out towards the line comes Chris though, 10.777, just up ahead of Miami, just behind Luke as well. All very sort of close, the guys that have just put in a lap as well. Of, you know, Larkin, RJ, Chris, Lifebout's obviously put himself up in a P4 as you say, but I'll tell you what, Licks, just after one run, is still sitting in third position. I think he might be getting a little bit of a nosebleed up there, and you know, I think he picked up his, if I'm not mistaken, his first. Did he pick up a podium last week or something like that? I'm just having a quick look. Oh no, he didn't. Sorry, he actually picked up P8. But I do remember he was actually doing relatively well in the race at some point. I think it was just due to a safety car. But yeah, hopefully Lix is able to try and convert this one a bit better now, and hopefully up on towards the podium side. You know, get himself some decent points, because he seems to be very well in qualifying. Just always seems to be the race is just where it goes wrong for him. So I said I'm hoping better for him as Lifebout puts it on pole, a 10.025, so close to creep into the nines, and Ariel Felipe is out on a lap, and I think he might be the next one across the line here, Jake.
Yeah, 42.0 through the middle sector for Felipe. Tremendous lap for Lifebout. Over a 10.5 is his margin on pole right now for the Iraqi, and we might see someone dip into the nines. Hopefully we do on the final runs. What's Felipe like through the last chicane? Oh, and that was not a good approach at all. He just choked that a little bit, and it's going to be an invalid 11.7. him backed off right at the end. He's going to have to come in, reset his head, go again on the last run. He can't afford to make too much this season. If he's got a handsome championship lead, it's worth saying. We've not mentioned because we started late. He's got a 24-point lead in the championship, and the man directly behind him is his teammate up in P8, and then Evans in P13 right now. So none of his championship rivals faring particularly well. Koskapin in the best position. Last week's race winner on 60 points. He's in P3 right now. But if you're going to choose a race to not fare particularly well, it seems, in qualifying for Felipe, he's picked a good one, because no one else is doing particularly well either. And there's Luke into the wall. He was already invalid, I think, from the mini-map, and he did well to only lose his front wing there and not a front right tyre.
Yeah, Luke, unfortunately, I think I wasn't actually sort of riding on board with him. I was just still riding on board with Felipe. But yeah, Luke, as you say, very lucky to not actually DNF in the session, because at least he still has one more chance at the end of the session. A lot of guys out now or out of the pit, shall I say. Evans, I think, is one of them. I think actually just improved on his time, if I'm not mistaken, to P12 with an 11.14. So in fact, Evans is out. Evans out of the session. That was a hard hit into the wall. I'm surprised he lost it there though. But yeah, Evans now out, and P12 is the best, where it's basically tied second in the championship, is where he's going to start. Like you say, this is a brilliant time for someone that's not even sort of having a sniff of a championship at the moment, to try and maybe claw something back to catch up to them.
Absolutely. I mean, Lifebout and Reservoir up there. Reservoir has threatened incredible pace all season, hasn't quite hooked it together in terms of the races. Koskapin's in the best position right now. You look at those drivers crossed around the 60-point mark. Let's look at Matty. I think he's going to be the first one to set his final effort. He's up by over 0.3 of a second through the first sector, and then looks really nice through 6 and 7. Picks the throttle up super early. His teammate, I think that's his teammate, staying well out of the way on the run towards turn 8, and so's the Alfa Romeo of, I think that's Ivo as well, or Lix possibly. Nice through 8 and 9 as well. Ducks under the bridge there, and then through the middle sector. What's going to be for Matty's a 41. It's a 41.8. He's up by nearly half a second now. That'll bring him into the range of Larkin and Tope and RJ and Luke in that clustered middle of the top 10. And now again, let's see how he approaches the last chicane. Is he going to do a Felipe and choke it a little bit, or is he going to hook it up nice and sweetly? it's an awful call because you have so long to think about it. But that's a nice early turn in. Could have picked up the throttle, I think, a little bit earlier. There's a bit of a twitch mid-corner. But still, a really nice effort from Matty. And he goes P5. He goes ahead of that taupe group, just shy of Licks, who is, I think, starting now. I can't tell who's on an outlap, who's on a flying lap. RJ's on a flying lap, and he's up by a tenth in the first sector. And we've got a yellow flag. I think that's just someone getting out of the way.
Yeah, I think it was. I believe it was Luke getting out of the way of everyone, because I think there's a few guys that are out on laps, as you say. Nix has just come across the first sector, and he's a 10th down on his time at the moment, so very unfortunate for him. RJ, as you say, I think is just having a bit of a spin going through the end of sector 2, so he's probably going to try and reset and go again as quickly as possible. He needs to save as much ERS as possible. But yeah, I think it looks like Resify, I think, might be our next person. Oh no, sorry, he's invalidated on his lap. So it would actually be, if I'm not mistaken, Lix has backed off of his lap. I'm just trying to see who's actually going to be the next one. I think it's Larkin. I think Larkin's going to be our next one. Oh, okay, fair enough. So there's a lot of people.
He had a moment at turn 8 and 9 where the rear just stepped out on him and the lap was gone there, and he had a horde of traffic to comb his way through as well. I think Miami might be the next. We've got a Mercedes out there as well. Miami's up by just over a tenth of a second. T-Brum is on a lap, and he's on a very good one, a 41.5 through the middle sector. And let's see what he can do. He's not got a lap on the board yet, but this could catapult him high up the standings in this qualifying session, potentially even in the shout for pole. And that looked really nice and tidy through the last couple of corners. And what's it going to be? Is he going to be into the 9s? Oh, it's a 10.000, but it is provisional pole for Ariel T-Brum. Nolan's on a lap in P16, but he's on a 42.2 through the middle sector. I don't know how good a time this will be for our championship leader, but that, no, he gets all out of shape, and we've got a Williams that's stricken across the track there. That was Taupe, and Felipe just wrong-footed him through there, and he's going to have to give up on that one. Chris getting very close to the wall there at the end of the second sector. On his lap, he's on a 42.5. That lap's gone for him. I think Luke is... RJ. We've got Luke and RJ across the line. RJ's going to go up here. He's up to P7. And I think Luke is going to be potentially one of our last across the lines. And we've got Licks on a lap as well. Resify goes fastest with a 9.9. Tremendous lap from the Ferrari driver. What can Luke do? This is a good lap from him. Goes up to P4. And let's have a look at Licks behind. Licks up by 400s through the middle sector. Just the last two corners to go, but he's invalidated. Unfortunate for him. Chris isn't on a quick lap. Miami's not on a quick lap. The Scream's invalid. Ivo is not improving. So I think that's qualifying. It's a Resified T-Brum front row with Lifebout and Luke in behind.
Told you, we're going to see something completely different. Apparently Lifebout was 2.5 temps up on his time and then bottled it. So Lifebout, I think, unfortunately, just, that's the beauty of Canada. If you're trying to go a bit too deep into it, it would chew you up and spit you out. So that's kind of what is shown. Unfortunately for Lifebout, settling in third position, probably not where he'd want to be. He'd want to at least be on the front row. But Resify on pole, not first time for this season, and T-Brum lining up alongside him. I say Lifebout in third and Luke in fourth. Pretty good for his championship, I was considering his teammate, who's the championship leader, is down in 16th, as well as Koskappen in fifth. As I say, he's only 5 points behind Luke and Evans as well. Same with Larkin. They're both literally is tied for second and third, and tied for fourth and fifth. So there's all to play for still with all of these guys. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how this is going to go down. I'll quickly just run you through the rest of all of these as well. But yeah, Koskappen in fifth, with Licks in sixth, Larkin's in seventh, Matty in eighth. RJ is in ninth. Taupe ran out the top 10. Unfortunately, I think crashing on his final run. I heard that he was actually on a pretty decent lap time as well. Chris in 11th, Miami in 12th. Dan Scream in 13th. Evans in 14th. Ivo's 15th. Nolan in 16th, our championship leader. And then the two that didn't actually get times on the board with both Brent and Charlie starting at the very back end of the grid. And yeah, I'm kind of intrigued on how this is going to go, especially going down into towards turn one, because it's not a long run whatsoever in comparison to quite a few other tracks. I think the run down towards turn one on Canada might be one of the shortest ones on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right, it absolutely is. And but I'm going to quickly use this interval to go through the standings, as we've neglected to do so far. Ariel Felipe leads the championship 89 points, but hasn't been on the podium since his win at China. Luke 05HD is in second place. He's also on a tremendous run. Only top 7 finishes for him so far this season, capped off by his first podium at second place last week. Remarkable, he's only got one podium. He's second in the championship, isn't he? He's 24 points behind. Also tied with him is Evans Joshua with one win at Abu Dhabi. No further podiums. Only 4 podiums, Jack, between the top 3 in the championship across 18 races is remarkable, I think. Koskapen is in 4th. He's got 2 podiums, but also 2 non-finishes or non-scores. He's on 60. Larkin also on 60. Didn't start last week. IRT Tope on 52. He's just keeping his nose in there. Hasn't finished outside the top 9 this season. Tibram is in 7th, also with 3 non-scores. He's on 42. 41 for Rezify, our pole sitter today. So our front 2 on the grid, 8th and 7th in the standings. Alex the G's gone up. RJ is in 10th with 30 points. Then Brent 27, Scream 27, Lifebound 24. Keep an eye out for him today, starting 3rd. He's also got 3 non-scores to his name. Had a great result at China with taking 20 points from that sprint event and a 9th place at Monaco. Miami 14th, Manny 15th, Sen 16th. He was on the podium last week, not racing today. Sui Ross 17th, then Rex, Chris, Lix, Coxie, Charlie, Stain, Marcio, Switchback and Ivo. Hopefully he can finish a race this time, because the 2 he started, he hasn't finished. He sits 26th and last in the standings. Let's have a quick look at the tyres, and then I'll ask you, we've got all hard starters apart from mediums for Lix and mediums for Ivo. The 2 Alfa Romeo guys, where is your money for victory? And this feels, I think, Jack, the least predictable race we've had all season long so far.
Yeah, so I can't lie. I think Lifebout or T-Brum, I think, will take the win tonight. I think Resify has got the pace to do it, but at the same time, he just needs to try and keep it on track. There's been, I think, as of recent, he has struggled. I've got to admit, Resify has struggled, but if he can keep it on track, then I think he's definitely got a good shout. But if I'm going with a gut, and if I was a better man, I probably would say either T-Brum or Lifebout to take the win. I'm intrigued to see what Lix does on those mediums. So if he has a good start, then he's definitely got a good opportunity later on in the race, because those hards, they're not that bad of a tyre, but obviously compared to the mediums later on, there could be. If there's an early safety car like there was last week, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and as the late great Murray Walker said, in Formula 1 it usually does. Look at Resify angled across the track there towards T-Bram. He's on the right of your screen. We've got T-Bram on the left, and then Lifebout, Luke, Koskapen and Lix tucked in behind. We've got 3 lights on, 4, 5 for round 7 of LOE and D2. We are underway in Canada, and that looked like a nice start from Resify, immediately going across to cover off T-Brum, and then Lifebout doing the same to Luke, and then gets on the attack into turn 1. Lifebout's up into P2, and T-Brum's fending for his life ahead of Luke for P3 there. Koskapen's sitting in the background, and there's a wing flying. I think that was Topes. Williams has lost some front wing in there, but they're all safely in behind. Look at Matty and Larkin. We've got Mercedes into the back. That's Brent in the background, but look at Larkin here battling away, and we've got a virtual safety car. Larkin just lost out to Tope and Matty in that. He was side by side with the Ferrari through turn 4, and then lost out to the Williams as well. I think it's Tope that's missing a front wing end plate, possibly. Indeed it is. Not sure what happened with Brent there, but at the front of the field that looked fairly clean, Jack.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, T-Brum had a very bad start. I think I saw him have a bit of an oversteer after that start as well, so I think he was just wheel spinning throughout the entire time. But yeah, I mean, well, he's now down into 4th, Luke up into 3rd. I said Lifeback now up into 2nd, trying to challenge Resify, and hopefully we'll see if he puts his money where his mouth is. I think he said that he was 2.5 tenths up on his final run in qualifying before. Let's see if he has the pace to get past Reservoir. Obviously, once the virtual safety car does go in, we're just, of course, waiting for that to go in. But he's just sticking to the back of the Ferrari like just a bit annoying that you can just sort of throw a bedsheet over the pair of them, as Tope actually comes into the pits after that wing damage and gets a 5-second penalty for speeding. We're back underway now. Nolan's also followed into the pits, so I think he must have picked up some sort of damage with that as well. I think that might have been the cause potentially of what happened with Brent. I don't want to say for certain, but I'm just guessing with him being in the pits, that's what I would have thought anyway. But yeah, this battle for the front, It's going to only just be heating up, Jake, because Lifebout is sticking to the back of Reservoir, even under the safety car restart.
He's on the attack, isn't he? So many bits and bobs were going on in there in turns 1 and 2, and it was the same in D1. I think the track just pinches up on the exit so much that you can easily get caught cold-footed on the exit if you run it wide there, and you can't help but just tag the car in front of you. I wonder if that's what happened to Brent. A little bit deep into turn 10 for Reservoir. In fact, very deep into turn 10. He's going to pick up a cleaner exit because of that, but I think Lifebout's on the attack. He's using his DRS now down towards turn 12, but he's going to let the Ferrari burn all of its DRS to defend, and he's just going to sit back and wait, I think, for some DRS on the next lap. These two have already broken a second from Luke in P3, and Felipe was in the chat saying T-Brum walks this Monaco style, but he's not having it his own way so far in this race. And where are our battles further back? We've got RJ's looking close to the back of the McLarens. We've got Charlie's very close to the back of the screen. Let's have a look into turn 1. There goes Charlie up the inside into turn 1. Makes a nice clean overtake there. And he's through into P12. Into the points. Both Aston Martin into the points now. But up ahead, Lifebout 0.3 of a second is his gap to Reservoir. He's hounding the back of that Ferrari. He's hustling it through turns 6 and 7. Then he has a bit of a scruffy exit. But now we've got some DRS to deploy. And I think Luke has had to use a little bit of ERS to bring himself back into Lifebout's window. Lifebout already with a penalty for cutting the corner now. That's going to make a move for the lead even more imperative if he's going to try and win this race. Oh, Reservoir's gone!
Reservoir going around! Yeah, Reservoir going around out of the exit of the hairpin. That's now allowed Lifebout to be the leader of the race. Of course, he's got DRS because the detection zone is before the hairpin. So it means he at least gets a dose of DRS. Luke, by the way, I don't think actually picked up any DRS from the back of Lifebout either. So T-Brum, his opportunity to try and overtake Luke has to be now out of the exit of this final corner going down in towards turn 1. I don't think he's going to be close enough. So that means that Luke at least will be able to hold on with DRS to the back of Lifebout. But that means Luke is now going to be our net race leader with Lifebout's penalty to him, so Lifebout needs to get a bit of a move on and try and get up ahead of Luke and get a 3-second gap onto him.
I think... What was I going to say?
Luke's gone round as well!
I forgot what I say. Luke has dropped it, and Luke's out of the race, and Tope's got a penalty. Is that going to be it's a full safety car? It's a full safety car. Luke's out of the race, and I was going to say something amazing, but I forgot what it was.
Tope dropped it as well.
Yeah, Tope. Wait, it got we saw Nathan drop it under the safety car as well earlier on, didn't we, in Division 1? Right, so let's take stock of that. I mean, if you're people like Reservoir will be buzzing that he's gained a place back there, but people like Evans are just gaining places here by just driving around the track. It does absolute wonders when the people around you can't keep the car in a straight line. Remarkable though that we saw both Luke and Reservoir, a leader and then a net leader, do that within half a lap of each other. Absolutely bizarre. Who are our medium runners? I wonder if Lick's not electing to come in. You can come in, I am right in saying here, you can come in and run the hards to the end from this situation. You may as well. I wonder if you're Ivo's coming in. I think Felipe would have the good sense to do the same. Put those hards on you started on, run to the end. You're not going to go a lap down. You're going to catch back up. You've got every chance now to do it. Chris has put softs on. He's getting a new front wing there. Charlie's also getting a new front wing. Ivo has done, as I said, put the original hards back on. Is Felipe going to come in? Felipe is coming in. So that makes Ivo and Felipe our net race leaders if the field stays together. Because those, when are they going to pit the hard runners? Around lap 20?
Yeah, roughly around lap 20, lap 19, that kind of area. So, unless there's of course a safety car around lap 14, lap 15, which you saw if you was watching Division 1, that same thing happened with that. Everyone pretty much put it on lap 14, 15 to go on a set of mediums to go to the end, and they were pretty comfortable getting to the end. I say comfortable, they weren't comfortable after about 15 odd laps on them, but yeah, as I said, they can definitely go to the end of the race if they are for those medium tyres. So it's just about if it's going to be another safety car that does come out. I think Lifebout's going to be a bit annoyed because it means then he's going to have to just still sit behind the safety car. He has that 3-second penalty and he says he's got the pace. He wants to obviously try and get away. with the safety car being out, though, it just means that there's just going to be more laps that he's going to have to do under them, the less time that he's got to try and get away from the rest of the grid. Especially if there's a safety car later on as well, then that's really put him on the back foot, considering that only 2 people have penalties and one of them's Charlie. Charlie, he changed his wing in the pit lane. He's gone and lost a bit more of his front wing under the safety car. I don't know how he's done that.
Yeah, that is odd, isn't it? Where's he done that? Oh, he's coming back into the pits. Perhaps he was planning to come into the pits anyway. I've got no idea. Or perhaps he just didn't change. Well, no, he did change it. We saw him change last lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd. Him and Chris doing the sensible thing by coming in, swapping back onto the hard tyres. They can now go to the end. Chris, those tyres are 4 laps old. They're going to be nip and tuck by the end. Very nip and tuck, but probably just about manageable. Gains Felipe a free place. I think watch out for these guys. Watch out for Ivo, Chris, Felipe. They're on slightly fresher tyres. It's not going to have much of an impact anyway on the hards, but they're on marginally fresher tyres going into this phase of the race. And they are, in principle, going to the end of the race, barring another safety car, although I wouldn't say that's unlikely that we'll get another one. I think they can stir the pot in this race. I think they're in a really good position. This is what I was hoping for in Division 1, and it never came. In the end, I was the one who caused the safety car, but I think they're in a tidy spot now that they're back onto those hard tyres.
Yeah, I don't know if the hards can. I think the hards can get us to the end. I'd like to think they can get to the end. If they can't, then well, I suppose that it makes that a bit more interesting. I feel like Charlie's might be the only one, and maybe Ivo. I think they're going to be the only 2 that might actually get to the end. Nolan may be able to. He's just got to try and preserve those tyres as long as possible. But yeah, Lex is the one that I'm quite surprised about that didn't actually opt to pit and take a fresh set of hards to go to the end. So I think he's made a bit of a mistake not doing that, especially on those medium tyres that he started on. You know, he could have followed what his teammate did and come in, but obviously he's opted to stay out. And well, we'll see how it plays out for him. It could work. Who knows? It depends, because obviously they're at the back end of the field. That means they've got to try and navigate through everybody, or they can stay behind them, but at the same time, then they're going to be under pressure from the guys that are right behind them. So, I don't know. I'm intrigued on seeing how this is going to play out for the rest of it. But Ivo, definitely not out of it. Charlie, definitely not out of it, despite having a penalty. The same with Nolan. I still think, I think Lifebout or T-Brum, I think, are still going to be the ones that take the win, though.
I agree with you. I'm intrigued to see if Koskappen can stay with them better than P3 did on the first, although we did have Reservoir and Luke's mistakes to kind of break the field up a little bit there. In safety car fuel watch, shout out Miami _4S, 3.6 laps of fuel over in that McLaren. Make that 3.8 now compared to Lifebout, who is on 0.44. So running 3.5 laps excess compared to the race leader is Miami. That is going to slow you down whichever way you look at it, even if it's only a fractional amount. So, safety car's coming in the end of this lap, and the pit exit arrives, or pit entry arrives at you very quickly. So as soon as the safety car is into the pits, the message above their screens will change, and they'll be prepared to resume racing. And then it's Lifebout's prerogative when he goes, and he's gone very early, and he has caught T-Brum absolutely kipping there in his armchair, and he's leads by 9/10 of a second as they roll down the straight onto lap 8 of this race. Koskappen's a further 1.2 seconds back. I said, could he stay with them? He already couldn't stay with them for one corner. 1.3 now, and further back Miami's looking tasty and hungry round the back of his teammate there, Lark, as they come round turn 2. But everyone else, no one. That early leap from Lifebout really splitting the field up, and no one managed to stay with anybody else there. And that's the most low-key safety car restart I've ever seen. Koskappen now 1.7 behind T-Brum. He cannot stay with those two.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was watching on board with T-Brum on the safety car restart as well. Like, I mean, T-Brum fell back quite a bit while he was weaving, and Lifebout was just, I think he saw how far back T-Brum was and thought, I'm just going to go. He did that, but I'm really surprised that Ben JS really couldn't follow suit with that, and if anything, I don't know how, he ended up getting more caught out than T-Brum did, which is really surprising to me, because he wasn't on the back of him or anything, so I don't understand why I don't know how Ben JS ended up losing that much time, but he's even gotten that gap up to Licks, and Licks, I think, is now starting to struggle on those mediums, because those mediums should be, well, he should be overtaking Ben by now, or even getting close to the back of the Red Bull. So unless Licks has damage, I think he needs to get a bit of a move on if he wants to make this medium hard strategy work. But yeah, Miami as well, all over the back of his teammate, and Evans all over the back of RJ.
That was bizarre there. Felipe passed Charlie and Chris on the last lap. Saw Charlie coming back at him, completely lifted off in the middle of the straight, maybe even put the brakes on, let the Aston Martin go, did not want to fight that with a barge pole, did Felipe. He was completely ducked out of that fight, and you think, who can blame him really? He doesn't want to get his front wing in any more tangles. Charlie is now pursuing the back of Ivo. That's the closest battle on track right now. Koskap now 2.2 seconds behind T-Brum, and look at Charlie here. Oh, Charlie drops it and just about catches it on the exit turn 9. Felipe will take P13 back, and Chris will slip through into 14th, but that has caused a bit of a headache for, well, it hasn't caused too much of a headache actually. Felipe's managed to keep in the DRS window of Ivo, but the problem is Ivo is now 1.2 back of screen. I said, could he do something on those pressure tyres? Ivo has not got the pace here today at all. On 4-lap pressure tyres, really struggling for some pace down in P12. But up ahead, it's Larkin and Matty that look like they're got the what's the phrase? What is it they say? They look like they're the most in a position to strike. Now we're into DRS territory.
Yeah, I definitely say Larkin looks like he's ready to pounce on the back of Matty, as well as Licks as well. Licks almost dropping out of DRS to Koskapin as well. On those mediums, it's really surprising to me. I know that they do tend to sort of drop off after 7 or 8 laps, but I thought they would still be at least a little bit better than what they're actually doing at the moment. So yeah, I think Licks really is going to struggle later on in this race, as Miami having a little bit of a squirm coming out of the second chicane, as I think also did Larkin at the same time, but he's obviously managed to claw that gap back to the back of Matty now, and Matty really sort of struggling now, as I think he's obviously got DRS from just before the hairpin, but he's on the cusp of losing out to that, as well as T-Brum. T-Brum didn't get DRS on the back of Lifeboat, so Lifeboat's now going to be allowed to run away, as Nolan right onto the back of Ivo. They've both got DRS running down in towards the final corner. Nolan's going to have the inside. I think he's in fact actually going to clear Ivo before the final chicane, and I think Ivo might have even just tapped the back of him ever so slightly, but Chris with the 3-second time penalty as well. Charlie into the pits on those hards, must have picked up more wing damage and has retired from the session. We're now down to 14 drivers, and still a pointless season for Charlie so far. I think every single time he's raced, he's actually just gone on DNF in the pits, so maybe need to be a bit more patient rather than just DNFing in the pits, because there is a chance you could still pick up points no matter where.
Certainly, this division, at this track of all tracks, it's an opportunity. I like how Felipe has played this race, I have to say. He's played the most risk-averse race you'll ever see after that, his lap 1 troubles. And he's going to make another move here. He's now into the points, and he's set to double that tally on this lap if he can pass Scream. Just lifting off nice and early into turn 8. He's not taking any more curb or risk than he has to. But there's a half opening there into turn 10. Doesn't want to take it. He wants 100% probability of an overtake, of a clean overtake, and I like it. This is a new Felipe that we're seeing this season, and he's going to make a nice textbook DRS overtake instead, rather than a turn 10 lunge. And there he goes into P11, cleanly pulls ahead and through, and he's going to have another dose of DRS to defend that position now. But he's got 3.4 seconds to kick on to the back of Evans, who is running in a bit of a Miami train right now. Miami struggling just to hang with his teammate. Gap there, 1.1 seconds. Licks, you mentioned was struggling. He's pulling it back in.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he's I didn't even clock that. Yeah, he's managed to get those mediums working a bit more now. And either that or Koskapin really is just starting to struggle. T-Brum now also back within 1 second of Lifeboat, and Koskapin 4 seconds now behind the top 2. As long as T-Brum can just sort of stay within DRS of Lifeboat, or stay within at least the 3 seconds of the Haas driver up in front, then he's got a good chance of winning this race for this evening. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, Licks, as I said, those mediums have just come back alive for him. we might even see an overtake go down in towards or just before the final corner. So I'm going to stick on board with this one. Licks using a bit of his ERS. I think Verstappen might be a little bit too far away, but actually down in towards turn number 1. It's just whoever gets a better exit out of this final chicane. I don't know. I think if he has a decent run out of it, as Reservoir getting the most on Miami, T-Brom's out.
T-Brom is out. I was just thinking as you were saying about that, we've got a full safety car. Disastrous for Licks that he can't pull into the pits in advance of crossing the line. I was just about to say, Reservoir, I was thinking, you know, how he's performed today, how he was at Monaco. He's in a great position here to get himself right into the mix of the championship fight, get himself right in the, throw himself into the kitchen sink, as it were, into the blender, but not with races like that. And people like, well, Larkin, he started P7, but he's gained 3 places here from Reservoir, from Luke, and from T-Brum, just from going round the track. And I think that's where, we mentioned when we were looking at the standings out, Nolan's only had 2 podiums, but that's where it pays, when you finish races in solid, even if unspectacular positions. And T-Brum and Luke are costly examples there of why you need to finish races, because you lose so many points by having that 0 chalked up next to your name on the standings.
Yeah, no, you certainly do. So, yeah, Lifebout, Koskappen. Well, I think Lifebout's really going to be kicking himself, because now, with that 3-second penalty, he got the gap to everybody else behind him, and obviously with T-Brown crashing, it was perfect for him. But because safety car's now out, it means that his time has just been null and void. Drive through for speeding under the safety car. I've had this before as well in another Canada race. He obviously must have gone over Delta as he went in towards the pits, and it must have just been on the cusp, because I know Ben wasn't really even going that much quicker than the Delta. So, yeah, Ben, I think, has really just thrown that away. It's now allowing Licks. I think Licks is now technically, net second position, if I'm not mistaken. Larkin, Reservoir, and Miami all stayed out, and I don't understand why, because those mediums, they can go to the end. So, I'm very surprised they've stayed out. And I think Ivo's also going to be quite annoyed that safety car came out, because he's now down into 7th when he probably could have been up towards the top enders. Actually, that Scream has no front wing.
Right, I was going to say, there's a bit to unpick here. So Lifebout has got 3 cars, but Scream will pit between himself and Koskappen. So I was going to say this is going to be the easiest win of all time for Lifebout. But, you know, the mediums will do it. I've done the quick maths. My mediums were wearing at about 2.6% a lap earlier, which means 22 laps, you're looking at 57%. Maximum, given there could be more safety cars to come. But the trouble is, I think by the end of that stint, they are going to be god slow. They're going to be shockingly slow. And it's a short pit lane here, because you get to cut turn 1. You get to completely skip turn 1. And we've got a very early set going in this lap. And you get to skip the last chicane as well. So it's a short pit lane. So Larkin, Reservoir, Miami, Felipe's already made his stop. The Scream, Ivo, you get less. You've got less that you need to gain back by being on track. So I think they could have pulled a master stroke here. There's another safety car. They may well have just won this race. But we've got Larkin, who's going to lead Reservoir. Reservoir's trying to work his way back up into P2 after that early spin out of turn 10. Larkin's not dropped P2 in quite the same way, and he's very slow off the last corner. Screams into the pit lane. Larkin has made it. Lifebout's got another penalty before we've even restarted here. And Miami all over the back of Reservoir towards turn 1. Can't make the move. It's a short braking zone down to 4th gear. Lifebout needs to make some places up sharpish now with that second penalty in pocket. Ivo's plummeted in the background. We've got Matty and Evans trading places down as well. What is going on in the back of the field? I was watching the front, and I don't know, we've got a big split between Licks and Felipe all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think it looked like it was Koskappen and Ivo both coming together. I don't know what had happened with those two, but Ivo, yeah, I think no, he's still got his front wing, which is good to see. I did see some bits go flying off of someone. I don't know who it was, but yeah, Evans now dropping out of position of 2 Licks as Miami, now going for the move on Lifebout. In fact, I think Miami might have made a slight little mistake on the exit of there, and now Miami has to stay behind Lifebout for the time. And oh my goodness, almost into the back of the Haas, and now it's going to invite Felipe to maybe see if he can go for a move. But again, I don't know why the 2 McLarens didn't pit, or at least one of them not pit. That makes no sense to me whatsoever, Jake. And now Lifebout sniffing on the back of Reservoir. I think down towards turn 1 we're going to see a move or a change for P2, and here you go, you can see it using the ERS straight down the inside. Not much else that Reservoir can do, and now up into 2nd position goes Lifebout, almost sort of just turning into him on a straight line. But Yeah, Lifeboat now up into second. He's got Larkin just in front of him as Evans and Licks both changing positions now as well. Evans on the set of the medium tyres. He got overtaken by him on last lap. He's now back up into P6, and Matty now also seeing if he can go for a move on the back of the Alfa Romeo.
We're on lap 16, but it's been absolutely breathless, hasn't it? And look at Matty. Is he going to have a look up the inside of turn 6 there? He is. That's an opportunistic move in the extreme. That's fabulous from Matty into P7 there, getting that place back. And Licks is going to be very vulnerable here, not just to RJ, but to Chris as well. He's going to lose 3 places in this. Is Licks. He's been caught sleepy in turn 6, and it's cost him through 7, 8, and now turn 9 as he's down into P10. And I don't think we've got any other moves. We have got to move his Lifeboat on Larkin for the lead of the race. Larkin was not wanting to look for a fight there. I think he's happy to just sit with the Haas and see if he can pull away a little bit, but I don't think he's going to stay with that Haas long enough to get any DRS from it this time next lap. He's 3 tenths behind now. I think it could be, well, 4 or 5 times that by the time we get around to turn 10 again. Miami picks up his first penalty of the day, running in P4. We've got Evans is making a move on Felipe here. 2 championship rivals, first and second in the championship, and Evans is through into P5. I think Felipe playing that risk-averse game again, not wanting the fight. He's thinking of the long game. He's probably hoping Evans' tyres will go off and he'll hang on to P6 for now, just focus on keeping keeping his head above water really, and being the hard runner surrounded by fresh medium runners. It's a tricky situation to be in for Felipe. He's covering off Matty there into turn 6. Matty pulled that move last time. He's trying to pull it again this time round. He can't find the move, but he's going to have some DRS now. But Felipe's got it as well, and there is no overtaking opportunity to turn 8. I'm certain of that. But it's a horrible situation to be in, Jack, isn't it? If you're in Felipe's situation where everyone around you has got so much better tyres, you feel like you're just being swallowed up from every which way, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, no, exactly that, and I feel like Miami's going to be in that situation very soon because Evans all over the back of him, using a bit of ERS. He's got DRS as well. I think we might see this move go down before the end of the chicane. Yeah, it's straight down the inside. Matty was also getting a move done on Nolan. Nolan's now going to be put under pressure from RJ behind him as well on those medium tyres. Let's have a look. I'm sticking on board with the Red Bull. The much better exit out of there as well, as here we go. Down the inside he goes in towards, on the start-finish line. RJ now up into 7th position. Miami, I think, was he the one that picked up damage?
Yeah, I think he hit the back of Evans through the chicane, and he's missing his front right end plate. His second potentially good result that Miami's thrown away with a little bit of will-to-will combat, and there's someone into the wall there. It's Felipe and Chris. I just saw a car skirt all the way towards the wall, and I think they took each other out there. Someone's got damage. Is that damage for Chris? He went very wide into turn 6. I'd love to see what happened there. RJ's now having a look at the back of Miami into turn 8. You don't want to force a move there when you can wait for turn 10. Look, Miami's all out of shape. He can't get that car to stick to the ground through the chicanes and through the slow corners here. And RJ, is he going to have a lunge? No, he's not going to wait for the DRS straight, but critical error from Miami there. He can't turn the car and he's going to let the Red Bull go, or he'll have to be forced to let the Red Bull go down the straight towards the start-finish line. So RJ's up into P6. He's another one making gradual moves today. Evans, worth noting, he was down in like 13th place at the start of the race. He's now in P4 and has made his pit stop. 2 ahead of him haven't. If they can get to the end, Evans is on for a net P2 in this race, which is just remarkable.
Yeah, it certainly is. So it's a bit wide down in towards turn number 1 though, but yeah, Reservoir and Larkin just both sort of follow me, just going to be the leaders of this train. Matty looks like he's on for a podium for this evening as well. So yeah, a lot of it is, or a lot of shake-ups going on. Lifeboat now 4 seconds up ahead of Larkin on those fresh medium tyres. As yeah, Miami getting that. Did he get his front wing changed? It looked like it was a very quick stop. So I wonder if he did change his wing. Yeah, no, he definitely changed his wing and done his pit stop now. So yeah, I think the 2 McLarens definitely left it a bit too late, and even then Larkin and Reservoir are really going to be put under pressure towards the end. I think they're just maybe even staying out just and hoping that there's going to be a safety car at this point, and if there is, then of course it's going to play right into their hands after that. But yeah, I think at the moment they've definitely made the wrong call, and I don't know, I feel like they should have put under that safety car, or at least one of the McLarens. But here we go, Reservoir, DRS now on the back of the McLaren. Not much ERS to play with. Larkin still sitting on about 40-odd%. Reservoir is D-rating, so it means that Evans could maybe have an opportunity of an overtake soon. But Reservoir, nice exit out of the final chicane, and so did Larkin, to be fair. So I don't think any moves are going to go down at the moment. All just going to sort of follow suit, all sitting in one big train. But At the moment, Evans in net P2, Matty's net P3, and RJ's in net P4.
I think Resify knows he can't really afford to trip over Larkin too much because they're only going to hamper their own races if they do that. They need a safety car to come. And it's kind of a bit of a stick or twist situation here where really if you pull the trigger now on a pit stop, you're in no man's land. You may as well just now hang it out and wait for and hope for the safety car. Here comes Evans up the inside. He's going to get ahead by turn 8. Resify didn't want to let that one go. He was forced to in the end. And Matty's gone now into the wall. And we've got a yellow flag that is caused by... We've got a virtual safety car is what we've got. I'm not sure why. That came out just as Matty spun. But we have got a virtual safety car here. What caused it, I'm not entirely sure.
I think I've found the answer, you know.
What is the answer? Do tell.
So Chris hasn't got himself a front wing whatsoever. He's got no wing. I think he must have had out of the second chicane. I think it is out of turn 4
Evans
and
is
5. Oh, okay, that's a bit interesting. Larkin's also coming, so is Resify. RJ stayed out, which is fair enough. So RJ's on net second. Did Evans get damage?
I think Evans is just gone for another set of mediums. He just knows those mediums are not going to be nice by the end of the race. I think he's just thinking this is the quicker way to get to the checkered flag. I'm surprised Felipe didn't pit, being on the hard tyres that he's on. He's going to find himself swallowed up part 2 later on in this race. Ivo up into P5 now. Eventually he was without a point this season. But this is an interesting situation. Life has a 9-second lead over RJ. They're on comparable tyres. Same goes with Licks. We're back under green. Felipe, let's get the tyres up, is on 17 lap hards. 16 laps for Ivo, so he didn't pit under... Well, he did pit, but he changed back onto the hards he started the race on earlier on. And then Matty and Koskapen are on 7-lap medium, and then we've got Larkin 19 seconds off the lead, but on brand new medium tyres with Evans and Resify for company as well. So they're 3 to keep an eye on. They're 2 seconds off the back of Koskapen and Matty right now. I think, looking at these two, Matty passes Ivo, not a surprise given the tyre situation there. I think Larkin, Evans, Resify, how far do you think they can get? Do you think they can get as far as Licks and RJ in this race?
I don't know. I think that's going to be a bit of a difficult one to tell at the moment, only because of the nature of this track. I mean, it depends if they've actually got the pace to do so. But at the moment, I feel like RJ, because of Evans pitting, I feel like RJ is going to be the second place finisher. And I feel like Licks might be third as Miami picking up a 3-second time penalty as well as, I was about to say, Resify also picking one up, Ivo also picking one up as well. So, look, we're now going to start to see a lot more penalties creep in as the tyres start to degrade even more. But I tell you what, Licks is in actually a really good position. 8-lap-old hard tyres, sitting in third and only 1.4 behind RJ. Licks looks like he is preferring these hard tyres in comparison to those medium tyres before. Those mediums will start to go off around lap 28. I roughly want to say, maybe even a bit earlier than that, which then means that those hards are going to play into their own, and I think Licks could definitely be on for still second place. RJ just needs to try and get a bit more of a gap, but if he can on these mediums whilst they're still relatively okay because of that safety car, if they can't, then I think Licks might end up getting the second position here, Jake.
I think looking at just on this lap, Larkin, Evans, I think they're going to be too quick for these guys. I think they're going to cut through this traffic like a hot knife through butter. Ivo's on 16 lap older tyres, and they're harder tyres as well. Larkin passed lap a 12.6. Licks' best lap is a 13.7, and it will be a lot slower than that by this point in the race. I think these guys are going to come at our podium sitters very, very quickly. And Lifebout, if he gets another penalty, might even be sweating on the race win. I know that's a bold statement to make at this point because they've not even got past one car yet of Larkin and Evans. But another penalty for Lifebout, I think this race win is open. And look at Larkin, he's going to get the overtake done here, which we've barely seen anyone make a move down that straight. The only other one was RJ on Miami, and Miami had damage. So look at Evans has got the traction to blast past Ivo on the exit. I think these guys are going to surge through this field.
Not so certain though. Larkin is still a second behind those other guys. It's Koskappen just getting a move done on Matty. I'm not sure why. It looked like Matty just sort of let him go. But yeah, now Koskappen up into 5th, Matty down into 6th. But he's a little bit further behind Ben JS than what I would have thought so as well. I'll tell you what though, Nolan running on these 19 lap old hard tyres are responses. Larkin picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's now going to hinder his performance on that. But yeah, with Nolan with a 20 lap old hards now, with still 11 more laps to go. I still think he's in the
yellow flag. Licks is gone.
Ooh. Oh, Licks. Oh, Chris is retired in the session as well, so he's retired in the pits. Oh, his teammate also followed suit. I think I've just seen. I think Ivo had a little bit of a half spin as well, with his teammate being at the same position. So luckily, I think Licks was still ghosted when that happened. So you know, he still manages to keep on going for the time being. But yeah, Chris comes in to retire from the session now. Everyone that does finish will at least get themselves a point for this evening, and at the moment Miami holding that final spot as Resify getting a move done on Ivo. Ivo really now struggling on these 19 lap old hard tyres. Nolan still actually having a decent bit of pace, although saying that I think Koskappen actually just caught him by about 3 tenths in that hairpin.
Yes, I think Felipe is well aware he's about to enter a world of pain. Everyone behind him is quicker than him, perhaps apart from Ivo. I think he might have missed a trick with that virtual safety car. I think he's looking at an 8th place finish here, potentially better with the penalty situation, but at least on track I think he's staring at an 8th place finish. Larkin and Evans are jostling away to turn 1. Evans was ahead on penalties, he's now ahead on track. Sam Manning second in the championship, takes P6. And now he can kick on. I think Evans, now he can dictate if he wants to be aggressive and go for this. I think he's got a race win in him here. I know you're a little bit doubtful of that fact. I think the potential is there for Evans. If another lifeboat penalty comes, look how much more grip he's got on the exit here. He's going to have a crack towards Matty. I think at turn 10, Matty's using some ERS to defend. He's down on 11% as they come through turn 8 and 9. And Evans just looks a lot more committed. But he has a big twitch there on the exit of turn 9. The trouble for these two, Evans and Larkin, is that Koskappen's in the way, and Felipe's about to be even more in the way very soon. He's only 1.3 seconds clear of Koskappen, but a good exit for Evans here. He's using, you'll see that D-racing Ferrari ahead of him. I think he's going to get the move done into the last chicane, and I don't think Matty's in a position to put up too much of a fight. Evans is going to have to be aggressive though if he wants to make this work. He's up the inside, and he gets sideswiped by Matty. Oh, I think Matty was ill-advised to make the move he did there. I think Evans had the inside line. I think he had the better tyres. I think he was in P5. I think that looked, from the camera I had, Jack, that looked like an aggressive last-ditch attempt to hold on from Matty there. It didn't quite work out for him.
I think it was just the case Matty was just trying to turn for the corner. I think Evans was just on that inside, and there wasn't really much that Matty could sort of do, to be honest with you. When you're on that inside, yeah, there's not much you can do. Koskappen, yes, has that moment, didn't actually hit the wall, so he hasn't got himself any wing damage. He's now going to be vulnerable from Matty behind him. Is Matty going to try down the inside in towards turn number 8? No, he's not going to have the inside, and it's going to allow maybe Larkin to go for a run. Although Larkin has a massive bit of oversteer as well, which is coming under that bridge section. Larkin really is struggling on these 5-lap-old medium tyres, which is surprising to me. I thought he'd be with them as all, just tapping the back of Matty as well. Not what you want to be doing, and now Matty is going to be a little bit further behind Koskappen than what he probably would have hoped for. Is Larkin going to go for the move on him down in towards this final corner? He might even do it. No, he's just going to back out and leave him be for the time being. But yeah, that was a bit sketchy from there, Jake, I can't lie. But Larkin, yeah, he's really struggling. I think the only way that Lifeboat loses now is there's another safety car. Even with another penalty, he just looks like he's got significant pace in comparison to everybody else. I think the only way he loses this is if there's another safety car, and that's all there really is to it.
Which isn't beyond possibility, as we've said all the way through. I think Larkin will be really ruined these last 4 laps. He lose out to Evans to get overtaken as he did when he had DRS himself. Will be bitterly frustrating, and then to watch Evans go past Matty, go past Koskappen, and see him waltzing away into distance towards Felipe. I think that was just the last couple of laps, though, that mistake out of turn 9 last lap, and then Matty picked up a penalty, and then hitting the back of Matty last lap as well. I think it was born out of frustration for Larkin that he's seeing Evans do what he wanted to go and do himself, and we get a fabulous camera angle there, and Evans is creeping and preparing and setting his sights for a move. for a P3 on track here. He's 6.5 seconds off the back of RJ, which I don't a necessary move for Evans, and he's made a lot of good overtakes in this race. He's crept through the field. He's up by 11 places, and unlike Felipe, he's not had to sponge the strategy in any way to do it. Larkin does now make his move on Matty into turn 1. He's into P6, but with a penalty which could be very costly later on, although those around him, at least in his immediate vicinity, do have one. Evans crucially holds on to P3. He's going to run away with this now. And can Larkin make the move on Koskappen? Although Koskappen is shaving up a move on Felipe. Looked like he was a bit out of shape through turn 4 there.
Yeah, and Evans, I'll tell you what, he was the one that was also a little bit out of shape throughout turn number 1, almost actually going around out of the exit of turn 1, so kind of got away with that there. But obviously with Nolan being on those, dying tyres, he's now just going to have to, or Evans is now managing to run away from Nolan. Unfortunately for Nolan as well, he isn't going to have DRS on the next straight, so he's going to be vulnerable not only from Koskappen but from Larkin and maybe even from Matty as well. And look how close Ben is getting to the back of Nolan there as well. And I think Nolan still gets a better exit out of that one, which is quite surprising to see considering the age of those tyres. But yeah, I think down towards turn 1, Nolan really is a sitting duck for that. He just needs to try and hold on as best as possible. Ben JS is going to have the better exit out of the final corner. Larkin also going to have the better exit as well. Larkin in fact is going to try and make this 3 wide in towards turn number 1. Nolan backs out of that one. Larkin going to have the outside to have the inside for turn number 2. A bit of contact with them and they're both gone round. And that's now Miami picking up a 3-second time penalty as well. But Larkin was having that progress. Koskappen went a little bit too deep in towards turn 1. And now both Larkin and Koskappen are down in 7th and 8th, unfortunately for the pair of them. Yeah, not what you want to be seeing between those two, but unfortunately for Larkin, it's now going to halt his progress, and he's now going to be just out of DRS from Ben JS. He has the opportunity to catch back up, but it's now allowed Matty and Reservoir to just, sort of sail on through past the pair of them.
Shades of Silverstone, isn't it, almost, I think, with Larkin. Every time he gets into a good position, something then goes and happens to take it away from under his feet. Matty is now the next to set up Felipe. Felipe is hanging on to that P4, an absolute treat, doesn't it? Yeah, of course it helps when you've got those immediately behind you tripping over themselves. But Matty's got no ERS to play with. Felipe has a little bit, and the result of that is the Ferrari can't really get too close to the back of the AlphaTauri as we come into turns 12 and 13, although it looked like a better exit for Matty this time. And can he get the run towards turn 1? But he's not close enough. It's such a short pitch straight here. Just as you feel like you're getting closer, then you have to slam on the brakes and you can't pull out and make a move. Reservoir has recovered to P6 now because of the tangle on the last lap. Evans, I have to say, I think you were right about life out all along, but I'm surprised he's not catching RJ. He's on 7-lap fresher tyres. He's barely put a dent in RJ's lead since he's passed Felipe. I don't know if he's running with any damage or anything, but he doesn't look like he's got any pace advantage despite the 7-lap fresher tyres.
Yeah, I think really these last 5 laps we're going to see though after they cross the line. I mean, like these last 5 laps is where we're going to see Evans then try and thrive onto the back of RJ. He's at 5.7 behind him now. It was about 6.2 on the last lap, so he's scoring by about half a second on this lap alone. But don't forget, because he's been 9 laps on those mediums as well, those mediums aren't really going to be in the best shape if obviously they weren't, if they were brand new tyres, then yeah, they'd be fine. But they're not going to be in the best shape either, and they're almost going to be at a relatively even playing field. Of course, RJ's tyres are still going to be a bit more dead in comparison, but Evans' tyres won't be looking nice either, as Matty all over the back of Nolan. He's going to go around the outside in towards turn number 1. Nolan's going to have the inside for turn 1, outside for turn 2. Matty's going to have the inside for turn 2. Nolan's still going to try and fight that one, but I don't think he's going to really need to fight too hard, especially considering that Matty has a penalty. He's not going to fight it too hard. He's just going to try and manage what he can on these hards. He's doing an exceptional job, I can't lie. 27-lap-old hards. He's going to obviously try and take these to the end as he covers off Reservoir for the inside of turn 6 and turn number 7. But of course, now going down towards turn number 8, I feel like Nolan's really going to be put under pressure here. Although saying that, Reservoir, he's just sitting on the back of the AlphaTauri. He's in fact diving it down the inside. You don't want to be doing it there. And Reservoir's gone around.
Larkin's into the wall. No, he's not.
He almost hit the back of Ben JS. I think that was just trying to avoid the Red Bull after going a bit slowly, and now Ben JS almost pushing him off the track. Ben now holding that P6. They're both contacting each other and just not left enough space on the outside, and Larkin's now up to 6th. Oh, it's starting to get a bit scrappy here, Jake. I can't lie. It's looking very, very sort of scrappy. And yeah, after all of that, Nolan is still managing to hold on to P5 despite all of this going on. He's just driving his own race and he's just having a little bit of a weave because he knows we're talking about him on the stream.
I think I thought the driver times in D1 were bad. I think D2 has put D1 to shame when it comes to dodgy driving. It's like go-karts out there. Lifebound's lead now stands at 12.6 seconds. He's checked out of the hotel up front. Resify picks up another penalty down in P7. Larkin needs to be careful and try and get within Felipe as quickly as he can because he's going to have the Ferrari back in DRS range. Bizarre incident between himself and Koskappen. And the first instance on the exit of turn 9, the camera just cut away at the last moment, which is why I thought he ploughed into the wall. It wasn't, as you say, just taking avoidant action. But yes, one of them, I think Koskappen had a moment avoiding Resify, and then Larkin had a moment avoiding Koskappen, and they both just kind of drifted towards each other almost magnetically on the exit of turn 10 here. They just sucked each other into the wall. I don't know if either's got damage, but Larkin is into DRS range of Felipe now, which should give him some defence against Resify. Resify is on same comparable tyres to Larkin because they both stayed out under the first safety car. So we are going to get a bit of a Larkin v Felipe on track, but I think with 3 laps to go, I think Felipe is going to finish ahead of these guys regardless of what happens with the penalty situation. But that won't stop Larkin hunting and harrying and hounding for a move on the back of the AlphaTauri.
I'll tell you what's a bit interesting as well. These mediums are going to be roughly around the same sort of tyre life as what Nolan's hards are at the moment. Maybe Nolan's hards might be a little bit worse for wear in comparison, but they're going to be roughly around the same sort of lifespan. So Nolan's hards, I think, are now going to start to come into their own ever so slightly because he's not losing any more time to Matty anymore. So the only thing that's really hindering him is the fact that Larkin's got DRS on the back of him, and yeah, Nolan's he's doing a very good job on these hards. Koskappen picking up a 3-second time penalty, Lix as well. Can't rule him out, especially considering that Resify has 2 penalties, and in fact Lix I think might even be looking for a move down in towards the hairpin, trying to go for a bit of a switchback on the hairpin. He will definitely have the DRS on the back of that Red Bull, but I don't think he's going to have to run on him. Nolan now getting overtaken by Larkin just before the before the final chicane. Are we going to also see Resify try and follow suit? I think we are. Resify is going to have that DRS. Unfortunately for Nolan, he won't. Both going to be using their ERS though, and Nolan just lets that one go. He's playing the smart game. He's making sure these tyres aren't going to be worn out and to the point where he could get a puncture. He just wants to finish the race because he knows he can jump up ahead of at least all 3 of these guys out in front. Maybe even, we'll jump up ahead of Matty as well. So yeah, Nolan, I think he's just playing the smart game, and it's working for him. He needs to do this more this season, and if he does, I think he's learned from last season. He could looking to become a champion for this time around. He's playing this well.
Yeah, he's played the on-track game very well. I think he missed a trick not pitting under the virtual safety car, but I think he's driven very well on track today. But he is now. What is his gap? He's 2.4 behind Matty. He's at risk of falling out of that penalty window, and the fact he's not got DRS to Resify ahead of him, I think he's going to lose at least 5th place in this race. He should still get Larkin and Resify. Let's say that Larkin's very close back of Matty now, and Matty has a little moment on the exit of turn 13, and Larkin's going to get a run now towards turn 1. We're on to the last lap of this race. Lifebound has been indomitable today. No one has been on his level. Those who might have threatened Resify and T-Bram and Luke have all made mistakes of their own. But it's the battle behind him that we're looking at on the last lap of this race, and Felipe will be sweating as Matty picks up another penalty. That will cost him very, very dearly. Larkin's going to take potentially P4 in this race if he can get that Ferrari and if he can gap Felipe behind him. It's going to be Felipe or Larkin that takes P4. It's going to be Lifebound P1, RJ P2, Evans P3, and Larkin is now clear of Matty. It's going to be very nip and tuck between himself and the AlphaTauri as to who gets 4th place in this race. But let's have a look at Lifebound coming through the last chicane for the last time, and he's going to take a wonderfully dominant D2 victory. Is Lifebound sliding across the line. RJ is going to be coming home second, a long, long way behind. We've got the 2 Ferraris scrapping away here. They're not battling each other in terms of the penalties, but they're going to battle each other on track. Resify or he can't do anything with the DRS for his teammate Matty. So they come into the last chicane. Larkin's going to come across fourth on track, and Matty got a bit of a poor exit actually. Retai might try out, drag his teammate to the line, and it's Larkin fourth, Matty fifth, Retai sixth. Where does Felipe jump up to? P5.
Oh.
Larkin edges him out in the end. Koskapen is going to drop behind Lix, who jumps up to P7. Well done to him. Felipe missed out on P4 behind Larkin by 0.08 of a second.
So close, and I knew it was going to be. I think I saw through that final corner, Nolan really was just doing his best to make sure that he at least just got across the line, and I think being too preservative on that final corner just let him. Unfortunately, he lost out that P4, but still for him, considering he started down in what was it, in 17th or 16th, still a very good result from him to say the least. So honestly, I think Nolan deserves at least a driver of the day nomination for him, but. Lifeboat, no one could sort of take away what he was doing. As I said earlier, he's saying he could have gone 2.5 tenths quicker. I think that kind of showed it, especially in that race, and he was the only one that didn't really make any mistakes other than picking up a penalty. It worked out for him. RJ, also keeping it clean on track, manages to finish in second as well, so yeah, obviously well done to those guys. I think the two McLarens, though, they definitely butchered it by not pitting under that safety car to start off with. I think like Larkin would have been on that podium had he done that.
But then he was ahead of Evans, wasn't he? Both without penalties, and Evans finished on the podium. Larkin ended up tripping over himself a couple of times, 9 seconds behind. So you can say coulda, woulda, shoulda, but even with the strategy he was on, the podium was within Larkin's grasp in that race. But he made a bit of a meal, a couple of his overtakes. I'm sure we won't take too much offence at me saying that. So Lifebout wins with 2 penalties in his pocket and still with a further 10 seconds in hand from RJ. Evans goes from 14th to 3rd, 2 stopping his way to a podium, and makes big gains in the championship. Evans 3rd, Larkin 4th, Felipe 5th, Matty 6th. Lick split the Ferraris on penalties in P7, Reservoir 8th, in Koskapen, Ivo, and Miami and Scream, and then DNFers Chris, T-Brum, Charlie, Luke, Taupe, and Brent, all the way on lap 1 for DTR. Brent, which felt oh so long ago. I think the standout from that race to me was the DNFs of T-Brum and Luke. They felt a long time ago, but they really, I think, shaped the battle for the podium in that race because of what came after.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I for me, I think it's still the highlight for that. I think is the fact that Nolan was actually playing the long game and was thinking about the long game rather than actually trying to play it a bit more aggressive like he normally does. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying that, but playing it a bit more aggressive than he normally does. And yeah, it actually worked out for him. I suppose he knows now he can try and keep on doing that during the season. Yeah, I think he could be definitely on for a championship here, and he's definitely showing why he is on for a championship.
I agree. I think he's played, I say, a very level-headed character this season. We are going to forego interviews though because I need to shoot off. So we will end it there. Thank you for joining us. We'll be short and sweet with our outro this week. You can catch next week's race, which is, bear with me, Bahrain, and it's a sprint, no doubt, as well, or no less rather. It's a sprint race as well, so do tune in. 6:30 D1 with James Head 14 and Old School 3000 and Jess Game 95 and Evil Dragon 99 in D3, and then us two will be back for D2, 8:10 UK time, and QVR, Packer and Verstappen for Division 4. Do tune in. We'll see you then. It's been an absolute pleasure to take you through this one. Until next time, farewell.